Welcome. This is Cheating Tale Stories. Thanks for joining us in today's episode of Cheating Tale Stories. Today, I'm sharing a story that will make you question everything you think you know about trust, family, and the people closest to you. This is about the night I thought I was proposing to the love of my life, only to discover she was already married to someone I never saw coming. I met Cordelia at a coffee shop near my office 2.5 years ago. She was reading a book on financial planning, which should have been my first red flag, considering what I do for a living. I'm a certified financial advisor, and most people run when they hear that. But Cordelia seemed genuinely interested in my work. She asked thoughtful questions, laughed at my terrible jokes about compound interest, and had this way of making me feel like the most interesting person in the room. Our relationship moved at what I thought was a perfect pace. She lived about an hour away, which explained why we mostly met in the city between our two towns. She traveled frequently for her marketing job, or so she told me. Looking back, I realize I never actually saw any proof of this job. No business cards, no work events, no colleagues. But love makes you ignore the inconsistencies, doesn't it? The strange thing was how she always seemed to know exactly what to say. When I mentioned wanting to start my own firm someday, she encouraged me with specific advice about business loans and client acquisition. When I talked about my family, especially my complicated relationship with my older brother Bulbsmart, she listened with this intense focus that felt like genuine care. Bulbsmart and I had always been competitive. He was the golden child, star athlete, successful in real estate, married young to his college sweetheart. But his marriage fell apart 2 years ago, and he'd been going through what my parents called his wild phase. Late nights, mysterious trips, a complete personality change. My parents worried constantly about him. Cordelia seemed to understand this family dynamic perfectly. She'd encourage me to be patient with Bulbsmart, to remember that divorce changes people. She even suggested I invite him to more family gatherings, saying that isolation only makes people more unpredictable. I thought she was being incredibly mature and caring. 6 months ago, I decided I wanted to marry her. I'd been looking at rings, planning the perfect proposal. Cordelia had mentioned loving surprise parties, so I decided to plan something special, a gathering with both our families. Except she always had excuses when I suggested meeting her parents. They lived far away, they were dealing with health issues. They weren't big on social events. So I planned what I told her was just a casual get-together with my family and friends. About 40 people. My parents, aunts, and uncles, close friends from college, colleagues from work. I wanted everyone important to me to witness this moment. The party was at my parents' house. I'd arranged everything perfectly. Hired a photographer, had the ring ready, even prepared a speech. Cordelia seemed unusually nervous that evening, checking her phone constantly. But I attributed it to work stress. She'd been having a lot of client emergencies lately. Bulbsmart showed up looking different, happier than I'd seen him in months. He was dressed unusually well, kept checking his watch, and had this strange energy about him. When I asked if he was okay, he just smiled and said he had some news to share later. About an hour into the party, I decided it was time. I'd practiced this moment 100 times in my head. I got everyone's attention, asked them to gather around, and started my speech about finding the person you want to spend forever with. Cordelia's face went completely white. Not the good kind of surprised white, the terrified kind. I got down on one knee, pulled out the ring, and said those words I'd been rehearsing. Cordelia, will you marry me? The silence that followed wasn't the good kind of silence. It was the kind that makes your stomach drop and your ears ring. Then she started laughing. Not a happy laugh. A panicked, almost hysterical laugh. She looked around the room like she was trapped, then back at me kneeling there with the ring. I can't, she said, still laughing in that terrible way. I'm already married. The room exploded in confused murmurs, but she wasn't done. To Bulbsmart. I stayed on one knee for what felt like an hour but was probably only seconds, trying to process what she'd just said. Bulbsmart? My brother Bulbsmart? The room started spinning. Bulbsmart stepped forward, and instead of looking shocked or confused, he looked guilty. Guilty and sorry and like he wanted to disappear. How long? I managed to ask, still kneeling there like an idiot. 2 years, Cordelia whispered. 2 years. The entire length of our relationship. Bulbsmart finally spoke up, the day after my divorce was finalized. We met at a hotel bar downtown. I was a mess, and she was there, and you decided to what? Share her. The anger was starting to cut through the shock. She told me her name was Delilah, Bulbsmart said quietly. She said she worked in marketing for a company in the next state. I had no idea she was also dating your brother under a different name. I finished. The pieces started falling into place. Her knowledge about financial planning. She'd been married to my successful brother for 2 years. Her understanding of my family dynamics. She'd been living them from the inside. Her encouragement about reconciling with Bulbsmart. She was protecting her own secret. Our parents were standing there in complete shock. My mother actually sat down hard in a chair, like her legs gave out. Why? I asked. It was all I could manage. Cordelia, or Delilah, looked between Bulbsmart and me with something that might have been genuine regret. I never meant for it to get this far, she said. When I met you, I thought I could just walk away from Bulbsmart. But then I got to know you, and you were so different from him, and You what? Loved us both. The sarcasm in my voice surprised even me. I wanted different things from both of you, she said quietly. Bulbsmart gave me security, stability, a home. You gave me adventure, intellectual conversation, dreams about the future. I convinced myself I could have both. Bulbsmart looked like he'd been punched. Security. Is that all I was to you? The whole thing was unraveling in front of 40 people. Family, friends, colleagues, all watching my life implode in real time. I finally stood up, put the ring back in my pocket, and looked at both of them. How many other things don't I know? I asked, do you actually work in marketing? Do you actually live where you said you live? She shook her head. I live with Bulbsmart. I never had a marketing job. I've been living off his income and what I could get from. She didn't finish that sentence, but she didn't need to. I remembered all the times I'd paid for dinners, weekend trips, even help her with what she said were temporary financial difficulties. The room was silent except for my cousin's baby crying somewhere in the background. Everyone should probably go home, my father said quietly. He's always been the practical one in crisis situations. People started leaving in small, awkward groups. Some stopped to hug me or whisper apologies. Most just slipped out quietly, probably grateful to escape the second-hand embarrassment. Within an hour, it was just me, my parents, Bulbsmart, and Cordelia in the living room that still had party decorations hanging from the ceiling. I need to know everything, I said. No more lies, no more partial truths. Everything. It took 3 hours to get the full story. Bulbsmart had met her the night his divorce was finalized. She was at the hotel bar. Told him she'd just moved to town and was looking for a fresh start. They had a connection, started dating, got married quickly in a small ceremony. Just them, a witness, and a judge. But marriage, apparently, wasn't enough for her. She wanted more excitement, more options. She created an entirely separate identity to date other men. I wasn't the first, just the one who lasted the longest. Bulbsmart had no idea about any of it until that night. He thought his wife occasionally went out of town for her job. He thought her phone calls were work-related. He thought her secretiveness was just her being naturally private. As for me, I thought I was dating an independent woman with a demanding career and complicated family situation. We were both completely deceived by someone who turned manipulation into an art form. The marriage was annulled within 2 weeks. Cordelia disappeared without a trace. Left Bulbsmart's house while he was at work one day and never came back. No forwarding address, no explanation, no apology. Bulbsmart and I didn't speak for months. It wasn't anger exactly. More like we both needed time to process being victims of the same person. Our relationship is slowly healing, but there's an awkwardness now that might never completely go away. I've been in therapy for 6 months, trying to understand how I missed so many red flags. My therapist says manipulative. People are experts at showing you exactly what you want to see. They study you, learn your weaknesses, and become whatever version of themselves will keep you hooked. Sometimes I wonder if she felt anything real for either of us, or if we were just elaborate games to her. I still have the ring. If this story resonates with you, or if you've experienced something similar, I'd love to hear from you. Sometimes sharing these experiences helps us all recognize the warning signs we missed the first time.